It was an early morning in March 2010. Mary Johnson heard gunshots. She frantically ran through the house looking for her husband, Robert.
I kept praying, let him live, let him be alive.
She found him on the bathroom floor. He had been shot 6 times by a man who broke into their home.
I grabbed the towel and I pressed it against his chest because he was bleeding profusely.
Doctors at a nearby hospital couldn't stop the bleeding, and Robert was life-flighted to Richland Memorial Hospital in Columbia, South Carolina. When Mary arrived, Robert was in surgery, where doctors tried to repair the wounds to his chest, abdomen, liver, and lungs. A chaplain was sent to talk to Mary about Robert's condition.
He said, well, the doctor want me to let you know that he wasn't going to make it. They can't get a handle on the bleeding from the liver. So I yelled, God, I get a handle on the bleeding. And I walked off.
Moments later, the lead surgeon came out and told her the same thing. He allowed Mary to come into the operating room to say goodbye.
And the doctor took me around to his head and said, kiss him. So I grabbed his head and I kissed him. He was swollen beyond recognition. And I said, Lord, in the name of Jesus, God, let Bobby live.
When Mary left the OR, she began calling family and church friends to pray.
About 2 hours or so later, the doctor came out, the head surgeon, came out smiling, and he hugged me. And that time I knew things had turned around. And I said, God did it. God did it. And he kept smiling.
While doctors had stopped the bleeding, they still didn't expect Robert to live much more than 2 weeks. If he did, he'd lost so much blood, he would likely have permanent brain damage.
One male nurse came back a week later. He's like, oh, he's still here? And I got upset. I'm like, what do you mean he's still here? I said, the Lord is bringing him through.
With Robert in a medically induced coma to minimize brain swelling, Mary prayed by her husband's bedside every day.
I would go over his whole body and say, Lord, let everything work and be healed in his body.
2 weeks came and went. Robert was still alive and in a coma, and Mary and a multitude of people were still praying. Week 3 would bring more bad news. Robert's heart developed AFib, where chaotic heart signals cause a rapid, erratic heartbeat. In addition, blood clots had formed in Robert's leg, and his lungs were collecting fluid. He was back in surgery again.
They told me and my son said he could die on the table. You know, that really scared me. I said, Lord, I said, no, he's not going to die. I said, you brought him this far. He's going to live. I trust God. I said, I trust you, Lord. I trust you.
Again, Robert pulled through, but doctors still warned Mary that his prognosis was poor.
And he was just weak and, you know, like they thought he was going to die. Things were going through my mind. Lord, why did this happen? Started crying, said he didn't deserve this. I said, is this working together for our good? Lord, you said in everything, give thanks. So I just started praising him. I just thanked the Lord. I said, Lord, no matter what it looks like, I give you the honor, the glory, and the praise, and I thank you.
After more than a month of surgeries, doctors had fixed everything they could. But Robert wasn't coming out of the coma. They asked Mary to try to rouse him. For days, she and her son Kenneth tried with no success, until one day.
Kenneth was on one side, I was on the other side. And I was calling him, Bobby, Bobby, wake up. He said, Daddy. His eyes popped open. We grabbed hands, and he just pulled up close to us like that. And of course, tears came, you know, from us.
Robert would spend many weeks in rehab, regaining his physical strength and ability to talk.
It was a slow process, I would say. He would talk some, and then it just came back like natural. His mind was coming together more.
As Robert regained his memory, he realized there were some things doctors couldn't fix. Robert worked as a prison guard captain at Lee Correctional Institute. He and his team seized contraband, the illegal drugs, guns, knives, and cell phones smuggled inside the prison. He had made some enemies, and they wanted him dead. Ex-con Sean Eccles had been sent to do the job. Even though Eccles was convicted and sentenced to prison, Robert struggled with anger.
Because I was thinking, I said, these guys, hunted me down. They tried to kill me and my wife, and bitterness was starting to build. One morning, about 3 in the morning, sounded like someone was speaking to me, and it said, forgive, because I couldn't let this root of bitterness grow up in me. It's a great freedom. Hatred and bitterness put you in bondage.
After 3 months in the hospital, Robert went home, where he continued his recovery. Although he still has pain and sometimes walks with a cane, he's grateful for every day.
I take each day as precious. It's precious time to me.
Today, he's a pastor, author, and public speaker, telling other victims of violent crime about the power of prayer and the loving God who saved his life.
Do not give up. When those doctors were ready to give up on me, my wife did not give up. She trusted God.
It's taught me that God is there. Don't ever doubt, no matter what happens. God is the only hope that anyone could ever have.
Prayer is powerful. It's not over till He says it's over.